Alright, hey. So in this video, what I'm going to be doing is a butter knife, little kitchen butter knife out of oak. This one's finished. The only thing I haven't done yet was dip it in the oil. So got some oak here. I've already carved out a bunch of utensils. Some turned out okay. This is supposed to be just like a little dish, a little spoon. I'm not liking it right now because my x-axis got bumped over, maybe too big of a cut or something happened. My dust cover maybe ran into a clamp. Something was not set right. So this is actually shifted off. This guy, well, a little bit of a boo-boo happened in there. I think what actually happened is my y-axis actually went all the way to the far back of the machine, and I didn't have enough slack in my power cord for the router, and it actually ended up unplugging itself, stopping the router from moving, and the X controller was still moving, so all my axes were still going. It broke. And then I got this little mini little stir thing. I might even stand it down to be like a little spatula at a slight angle. There's that guy. I had already carved out. But for this one, we're going to be doing a knife. What I'm going to do is get the rest of this board clamped down into position, and then I'm going to take, now these ones are two different sizes. Some people may have bigger hands than others, so two different sizes for a different hand size. I'll just take the large one, stick it in there. I'll go to the computer, I'll do a measurement with a tape measure from my home origin, XY0, measure over, and this, in this case, I'm going to go about 3.5 inches, and then I'll give it like a little space up there because it fits, so I could say like 100,000 something up in Y, and then let it carve it out. The carving time is going to take about 3-ish minutes because it's some hardwood, and it puts stress on every little thing. There's a lot of stress that's going to be happening on the bit when it cuts. I'm only going to be taking like 50 thou cuts, maybe even 100 thou. I'm moving slow. So let's just kind of get this thing on the move. Get this thing clamped down. Get things going, and then we can actually hop on over to the laser, which I got another project going on over there. Pretty cool. Alright, so I got my bed all clamped down. It's all good to go. My stops are the screws. Push it all the way over. Push it all the way down against this. Clamped it down. That's good to go. Now I'm going to move on over to the computer. Pausing that was pointless. So I got my knife. Measure that. It's going to be 8 inches. Where's my tape measure? My longer one. It's gonna be closer to 9. How about this one? It's gonna be under 8. Okay. I'll make this one a little bit bigger. I'm gonna lock that in. Make sure we can see what's going on. Zoom in a little bit more. probably fine. My height, which is length, I'm going to give that 9 inches. So what I actually did right in here is I went over to my puzzle piece, my apps. Shoot, can't see that on the camera. I scrolled on down, and this little guy right here, Bezier slope generator. I clicked on that and I just gave it some information. I expanded as it was still highlighted. I grouped everything together. But then there was a square. So I went up, grabbed a shape, made the shape to cover all the extra right here. So that way I wasn't really going to cut out here much. And I made that cut of 0 depth. Did the same thing on the other side of the knife. And it looks like it does over here. So it's not going to cut anywhere it doesn't really need to cut. So what I'm going to do is highlight. I'm going to place this knife back in my setup. I said that was 3.5. I'm going to edit. I'm going to flip it vertically, and then I'm going to edit. I'm going to flip it horizontally. I'm going to come on over to my location position. I'm going to type in 3, tab down. I'll go like 0.25, and that is going to be the location of which it's going to cut on the board. Now I do got some defects in the board, so I need to make sure that that's where I needed. That's why I measured it. Over here it gives me a rough time of 30 minutes, which I don't believe it's going to be like that. Feet of 100, plunge rate of 24, depth per pass is 50. I'll give that the okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come on over here and back this stuff up. Get these out of the way. Slide those out of the way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to home the machine. Also going to make sure that before I do home the machine, right there. So why I did that is because when it actually comes on in, it's gonna go over here and it's gonna hit that clamp. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come on in, take this hose off, I'm gonna raise that up. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna jog him back over. Jog him over just a little bit more. That way I can position this just above the clamp. That way when it makes a turn, because it's going to come down here, it makes a turn, I can look at it with confidence and say, okay, we're good, we should be in the clear. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the same thing for this side over here, because this is the only clamp, I don't have one back there. So I'm going to do the same thing right here. Okay, we're in, loosen him, drop him down, lift him up just a little bit. Okay, we're good. Now, when you have it this low and it wants to run over these clamps, it's going to put some pressure on the bottom of your dust collector shoe. It's going to put pressure on there, which means putting extra pressure all over the machine, and it could cause it to skip a tooth or something to happen, which will throw everything out of whack as far as its coordinates. Because it'll just keep on running, but it doesn't really know where it's at. I don't know. So don't necessarily hit and then just adjust it up a little bit. I went up a little bit of a lot. It should be okay. There's a little gap between the bottom of these. I'm drawing a blank. The broom bristles and the wood. It's fine. A little bit of that dust is going to get kicked out. Not all of it's going to get sucked up the vacuum. It's fine. I think a majority of it's going to get sucked up the vacuum. But when it comes on down to here, it's just going to get kicked out. It's going to happen. You're not going to have a 100% clean ending anyways. So now that I did that, I'm going to hold the machine. Now, what I've noticed in the past was running a little harder and everything, my variable speed dial would rotate on me because of the vibrations. What I actually did was I had a screw from a hinge. I screwed into there and I kept that at setting number 4. I put the screw in there so that vibration wouldn't cause the variable speed to go up and down. Keep the speed right there, which then would keep my chip load where I want it to be. I also, back in time, made this cheat sheet. I went online, I found the RPM specs for this router, and at like number 1, it's putting out about 10,000 RPM. At speed of number 6, it's putting out about 30,000 RPM. And what I did was, okay, well, that means, I just went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I did the math, did the figuring about what each one is going to be. If I want 1 thou chip load, it's basically a 2 flute, so you'd have to calculate based off anything else. But I think for wood, it's good to run a 2 flute. I do have some 4 flute end mills, so that's going to be a little bit different. But yeah, I think that's a good cheat sheet. So if I run at a number 4, I'm going to be running at 22,000 RPM, and I'm going to be running at 100 inches a minute. So if I was running at 132 inches a minute, I'd be pushing a 3 thou chip load. But I'm not. I'm going to be running just under that. So it's going to be between 2 and 3, like 2.5. So that's okay. Plus a 50 thou depth. If I go really any deeper than 50 thou in this harder oak wood, it's going to be a lot of pressure. And once it actually gets down to the bottom, which on this side of the board, because the board's got a taper, it's about 660 thou thick with a caliper. It's got to be very careful. All that chip evacuation isn't going to happen. So it's just going to be putting a lot of pressure in there. The only way I can get it to run great every single time is to run slower. But to run slower means it's going to take longer, and I don't want that to happen. Especially if, you know, you're really trying to bust things out to really make a good profit. This is just kind of a side-end hustle. Trying to just figure out what is going to be good. Run time, cycle time, costly, effective, I guess. About 3 minutes a piece. I think that's pretty good. This is going to take longer because I'm actually adding some other passes into it to help eliminate all this extra material in here versus having to sand that all down. And I'm only taking off of one side. I'm going to see how that looks. And if I like it, great. If I don't, then I'll just adjust my program to only go down half of it. Then I can sand that nice. Then I just got the whole other side I got to sand instead of flipping it over and remachining. Because that might just take more time. To sand that whole thing, it only took 12 minutes. But if I can cut that in half by milling that out, taking a minute, I'll do it. So what I'm going to do now is, now I got this guy set, I'm going to home the machine. How I home the machine here real quick. Let me see where that camera's pointing. Okay. I got everything set on 1 inch. I'm going to zoom this guy up. I'm going to jog over my X. I'm going to jog down my Y until I'm fairly close, not touching. I'm going to hit the home button. Okay, it's home. Jog my Y. Jog my X. Jog my Z. Actually, I'm going to bring my Z up. I'm going to take the bless you off. Set that aside because I need to probe right here. Like I said earlier, 660. Make sure that's up. Yeah, it's not 660. It's about 770 thou thick. So I need to adjust my program for that. $770 deep. Cut settings. I'm actually going to highlight. Cut. Alright, so I grouped it all together. You know what? I'm just going to leave that. I was going to adjust my tabs in there for my last cut so it holds it in place, but I'll just leave that alone. If it kicks it free, great. If not, okay. Alright, I'm going to go carve. It doesn't have the material in here in its list that I'm using, so I'm winging it. I'm going to probe it. Move everything to 1 inch movable increments. I'm going to move to the thicker part of the material, about where I measured it. Stay right there. Blow that off, wipe that off. Attach my probe. Doing that, I actually need to bring that Z up. Alright. Confirm the position. Clip is attached. Touch it. Okay. Touch plate is in place. Start the probe. Okay. Detach the probe. Wipe these guys down. Wipe them off. The probe is put away. It asks you set XY0. I'm going to say use the last position, because my last position was already here anyways, and I don't want to change that. Go ahead and put my dust shoe on. Put my vacuum on. I need to make my ceiling in this thing a little bit bigger, because I got little things going on in there. It really kind of screws me up when I'm really moving this thing to that side of the table. The pressure on this will actually cause it to not run right. Slide my doors in. Turn that on. Plug my vacuum in. Spin those on. Carve it away. This says 14 minutes. We'll see how this all works out after 14 minutes. Alright, so it's done. That was a bummer, actually. I'll explain why here. Let me get the thing out of the way. Alright, so this is kind of a bummer, but is what it is. So what happened? My 3.5 inches, 3 inches. Okay. Maybe I should have went 3. So I had a little pocket right here. Let me see about the camera. You know what? Ah! Alright, so this is what happened. Had a pocket here from the last time I ran. Ran into some oopsie. My distance somewhere was wrong, and this is what happened. So come on over here. Do the best just to hold this thing still. Got it. So that's what happened. Okay, so my edge right here just counted into it. So, like, yeah, that's at 3 inches, right? It's at 3 inches. Well, I wasn't thinking properly. I needed this to be at 3 inches, so that's where I went wrong. I should have actually just took that and bumped that back a little bit. What I should have done was my 3-inch down in here. I should have just used that line as a reference. This is what I should have done instead of using my coordinate up here. All would have came out well. But because I didn't, this is what happened. Now, perfect. My tabs were not quite enough. Why were they not quite enough? Because I had a little bit of a gap under here. Just a little bit. So, I mean, there's tabs, but they weren't big enough to really do much. So there's my step downs. That worked out great. It's gonna be a lot less sanding. Spreading the butter. But overall, I mean, the handle itself feels pretty good. Will I be able to sand that out? I don't know. I can try. If not, either I'll keep it or I'll sell that at a discounted price because of that defect. But it's just another one. So there is a lot to learn. A lot of things can go right. A lot of things can go wrong. Foam lens is terrible. Not even gonna go to the laser. But that's me making the utensil. So the videos will get better as I get better. Too much talking, not enough talking. I don't know. I feel like too much talking. I'm dragging things on. Anyways, like, subscribe if you sure wish. I don't really like to say it because it's really up to you if you want to or not. I mean, you know it's there. So that's all, I guess. If you have any ideas of things that you'd like me to try to carve, try to make, let me know. You can hit me up however you want. Facebook. Comment on the video.
Thanks.